Wait, you've got some good Dysons.
Check them out.
What kind of dice do you have? What? Oh my. Ooh, girl. Look. Wow. Where'd you get those dice?
Got them on Amazon.
Ooh, pretty dice.
You're my number one. You're my number one.
Yours are nicer, but they're a little bit like mine.
Yeah, dark and lovely.
Dark and lovely, make it
yours
lovely.
Are like, yours has a marbled with blackness, whereas mine is marbled with vanilla streaks. Vanilla streaks. It's like a vanilla raspberry cordial.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt and Evan Bivens of the Bivens Brawlers.
Yeah.
This is a BivBros show. We're trying something new, so we're actually just turning the camera on. So actually, brother, that means that we can't make any mistakes because I certainly don't have time to edit both the podcast and the video.
Oh no.
No, it's fine.
You know what they call me? No mistakes, Bivens.
That's true. They've been calling you that for years.
No, they haven't. Nobody's ever called me that.
We did actually used to call Jonathan Gray one take Johnny.
No, that's you. You're the one take wonder. This is true. And not that we're talking about Jump, because who wants to talk about Jump? But I will say in the studio, Matt is usually, when it's time for him to go in and lay down a solo or whatever, it's like bonk, and he's in and out. Bye. Not me. Like, take 20.
Your part is far more important, though.
Is it?
Important. Yeah, kind of. Honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you had a topic earlier, brother, that you wanted to maybe start with.
Happy Friday the 13th.
That's what it was. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. We're recording this on Friday the 13th. Whether or not it'll be released on Friday the 13th doesn't matter, because you're still going to enjoy this as a podcast.
Just think about it as a time capsule back to last week.
Mm-hmm.
When you were sitting around on Friday at 4 o'clock or whatever time it is where you are, freaking out, thinking about, dear God, I only have 18,000 rolls of toilet paper. I need some more. Gotta run down to the CVS and get a couple more rolls.
Yeah.
But I can't because I'm all out of luck.
2 tree rolls.
You're all out of luck. It's the Friday the 13th, so black cat cross your path. You got to the CVS, you roll in, the doors slide open, you get over to the paper aisle. Guess what? You go straight out the paper chute, and guess what? All sold out. Anyway, no, it's Friday the 13th, and I was thinking. It just made me think of course, the franchise, the film franchise. Yes. And then there was my favorite, I think, probably of all time in the franchise, which is Freddy versus Jason, which is not necessarily technically, I guess, a Friday the 13th film, but
right,
roll with me. But it's highly underrated. I think it's one of the best. But then I thought, what if it was Freddy versus Jason versus coronavirus? Who would win? Who would win?
Okay. I mean, my immediate take on that is Freddy, because he can't catch the coronavirus, right? Because he's a dream lord.
But he is kind of old. He is kind of an old bastard. So he's a high risk.
He's at risk.
Well, if you can get at him, you just have to believe, right? That's what makes
right.
No, you have to stop believing. You have to stop being afraid of Freddy, and that's what gets rid of him for good.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
So
believe that he
maybe that's a check for coronavirus, because people are more afraid of coronavirus than they are of him. So his powers are dwindling. It's not that. So it's not necessarily would Freddy or Jason succumb to coronavirus, or any virus for that matter? Because the answer to that is probably not. Yeah. But
because
that's not
don't exist.
Not the only way to win. Yeah. Are you guys holed up in your well, you're next door at your office, so you at least can go across the place if you can't go anywhere else.
Yes, my office building today became a ghost town. And yes, there's no one in here, which is kind of cool because I usually don't get to plug in my speakers. I'm very respectful of my fellow. I have very awesome office mates, office building mates, so I don't really worry about it. But I plugged in the speakers today and listened to some music live without headphones, which was cool.
Okay, cool.
But yes, I'm very safe. I'm very. We joke a little bit, everybody, but we're not joking about the seriousness of it. Or
it's right. Look, our policy in life is you gotta laugh. You gotta laugh at things. If you don't laugh, you'll cry, right?
Right.
And certainly, we're not belittling or making fun of anybody's hardships or circumstance.
Or stress or anxiety.
Or stress. Yeah, good Lord. There's enough of that going around.
I've been a little stressed, to be honest, just in my, I think more because of the surrounding collective unconsciousness. It's funny, I talked about this last week.
People's unease is making you stressed? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I was trying to remember when was the last time I felt this way, this sort of sense of dread. And Lindsay reminded me it was the hurricane in Charleston, where I walked around going, I have no control. I have no control. I have no control of the situation. Is it dangerous for me? And I spent that entire week we were rehearsing for
some shows.
Sparrow. Yeah. It was
that's interesting. An act of God, something that you just can't.
Yep.
You're not going to get in front of.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But anybody that's listening to this that is in having sad times, we're there for you and we're sorry, and well, it's not our fault, but we're there with you.
It's not our fault.
Actually,
it's the most important.
No, but it's
takeaway.
we're there for you emotionally and understand how it goes.
It's freaky. I've been watching,
Friday.
Elise. It's a Freaky Friday. I've been watching Elise work from home the past few days, as everybody has been doing, as I do every day. But everybody's working from home and doing that. But Elise is, for those of you who don't know out there, she's the director of HR for a consulting firm, and so she has 5 million people calling her, ringing her phone is blowing up, saying, with questions that she, nobody has the answers to yet, and so she's trying to manage all that and steer the ship in the right direction, knowing just all that we know. In the meanwhile, doing all of her regular duties that have to get done too. So it's just nuts. It's just nuts. Yeah.
It will get a little worse before it gets better, or maybe a lot worse. We don't know, but it's the initial reports. Lindsay went to Trader Joe's today, and she said that people were being very cool. They're kind of trying to look out for each other, which is nice.
Oh, okay. We'll share this pack of toilet paper.
Not
Here,
that far.
you can have one. You can have one roll.
You can have a half.
Let me tear off a few sheets. Gross.
Yeah, but
Can we, as an aside, can I share with you my most hated commercial of all time, or series of commercials for that matter?
Oh, yeah.
It's the Charmin. It's the Charmin bears.
I knew you were gonna say that.
But there's
Horrific.
there's a special one that's really, really nasty. Mm-hmm. It's where the little baby bear is he's got underwear. They his mom picks up the underwear. Do you know what I'm talking about? Picks the underwear off the ground, and she's like, "Hey, these are clean." And basically, the what they're saying is this doesn't have a bunch of scorch marks on it because this baby bear wiped his ass with Charmin. Yeah. It's just so gross.
It's really gross.
It makes me sick. It makes me physically sick. And yet,
I hated that.
I still buy Charmin.
Sure, you can't.
But
can't help yourself.
Not recently, because I can't find any.
We're actually buying a bidet.
Yeah, I saw Lindsay post about that on the internet.
Not because of the virus, just she's actually wanted one for a long time, like a really long
but
time.
not a separate unit from your toilet.
We're
Like
not that fancy.
I think I've seen an ad for this on the Facebook where it's just like part of your seat lid and it's like a bidet attachment.
Exactly.
I have to admit, I'm somewhat curious about that.
I have no idea.
I know. Like, how does that work? And I guess you have to attach your water supply to that.
I think you do have to sort of split the water. I don't know how it works. She asked me for an opinion, and I just didn't even look at this. I was like, I trust you. I know that's something that you've wanted. She's done, she's a researcher, so she knows a lot about it. So I don't have that desire for the bidet. There's lots of other things that I'm more interested in. So I just, I will give you a full report as to what bidet life is.
Oh, maybe I don't want that.
Well, not a full report. Maybe not a full report.
Yeah, so TPS report. TPB, NTP report.
TMI.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a TMI report. Okay, so we're here today to answer your burning questions out in the world of the internet. And I guess while we're on the topic of our imminent doom, there was one of these that was there a topical question in here, brother?
Well, yeah. So first I'll do a little. Let's back up and explain a little bit. So we had a BivBros episode a couple of episodes ago where we finally said, okay, come on, we should focus these podcasts just a tiny bit, and we someone suggested that we have sort of a call-in / write-in advice column. There's lots of little quotes going on. An advice column where people ask us questions and we answer them. We're totally unqualified to do so, just for fun. And we're not doctors, we're not therapists, we're nothing. We're just two white dudes that like their moms.
Jerks.
We're pretty sensitive dudes. Anyway.
Same mom.
And we call it Ask-a-Biv. I think that was the title of this segment.
Yeah.
We're still needing a bunch of like lead-in, theme songs and other things. So we'll be getting to that. But it was so much fun. We're doing a second installment of this segment, and so the concept is that people have written it in. I've put it into this nice Airtable spreadsheet thing, and we have 10 questions. And I thought I could just Dungeons and Dragons size them a little bit if you'd like. And
D10.
Unless there's the one that you really wanted to answer straight out.
No, go for it. I was going to go for the topical one, but go for it. Go for it. Yeah, okay. Let's randomize.
Yeah. So thank you guys for sending in these questions. They're all great, heartfelt, funny, and engaging. And the first one is number 2. Oh, and we're going to start strong, I guess, from Amber Hasty Mills. She actually sent this in last time, but we kept it because it's interesting to me, I guess. And Amber asks, in the past you have spoken openly about having ADHD, and recently noted on Cool Demo, which is another podcast that we're a part of, that you feel distracted and anxious if your surroundings are cluttered. What strategies do you suggest to keep things neat and organized? For example, not just shoving stuff in drawers.
That's my strategy.
Mm-hmm. Well, Amber, that is a great question. And I do speak openly about ADHD and kind of interestingly enough, more than I used to, because I am involved in, my wife is deaf, as a lot of you know, and so we're both really involved in sort of conversations about disability and are trying to surround ourselves with people who are trying to sort of talk about disability in a very honest way and learn more about it and how it applies to arts and all kinds of things. So it's been an interesting topic for me personally recently because ADHD is starting to be considered what they call an invisible disability. And again, I'm not saying that I necessarily condone or agree with this, but what that means are disabilities that might be more cognitive in nature. Because a disability truly is, the definition of it is that it does keep you from doing certain things in your life. It is any manner of a hindrance to basically getting the job done day to day. So, I in some ways I'm emboldened to talk about it more. In some ways I'm less emboldened because my wife is was born with a disability that is needs a lot of attention in the world. But as it applies to me in trying to understand ADHD as far as it has affected my life, that is important. We all have to know that everything is relative, right? So there are things that my diagnosis of being ADHD in the past has brought to light, this almost like a sense of comfort to me to understand that I'm not alone. First of all, I'm not the first person to be diagnosed this way. And secondly, that it's something that I can study and learn and track and try to understand so that I don't go into so I don't, for example, get depressed about not being able to be attentive about things or be focused on certain things or get things done or because that's, I think, what happened when I was younger, is that I didn't understand that other people felt this way, and there were ways to sort of learn mechanisms to cope or take medicine or whatever I needed to kind of sort of fit in better in society and get things done. Does that all make sense? Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a danger, is to kind of like not look at it as something that is a hindrance in your life or something that you could champion it too. I'm not saying that you can't. There are parts about being ADHD that I really am grateful for. I think sometimes I really love the way my brain works, and sometimes it's very hard on me, and I can get hard on myself.
Well, we've talked about how our whether she would recognize it or not. Our mom very similarly, probably has these struggles. Although in her generation, that's just not a thing, right?
Right.
But that she chose her profession, whether intentionally, I guess not intentionally, but she lucked out in that she chose a profession where she is constantly multitasking all the time. It's like, it's kind of the perfect, and it's always changing as well. So,
Active,
she's going from role to role, and she's always got something new to do every moment. So she's not forcing herself into a mold that is going to create inner conflict, which in our in our world for Jump, that's probably fits pretty good for you. It probably is a good an outlet that works well, but maybe web development all the time. I don't know how that.
It's different.
It's different.
It's funny that you say that, Biv, because we went from school, and school is very difficult for me, very, very difficult. But I'm just in the age where that people were not really diagnosing kids with ADHD that often. You had to be pretty much undeniably hyperactive, and I've never been super hyperactive, so I think I kind of fell under plenty of radars. So a lot of it I internalized, like the nightmare that doing homework could be, or certain kinds of homework that were just the monotony, and then I So instead I just sat there beating myself up as I grew up. And then
Yeah.
we went to art school, and then we started a rock band, as you said, which is a perfect place for someone with ADHD because it's constant changing and constant learning and constant doing. So I wasn't even super aware of the symptoms and the concept of symptoms until Jump would take a break. If we were off the road for any reason and I had to do other things like clean my room or take care of myself, or if we had to have sort of a side job, like that's when I got depressed. That's when it really hit me, and I didn't know what was going on because I had one world I was extremely confident about surviving in, the world of rock and roll. And then I would get off the road and I would just feel like, that I was the worst human being ever because I just couldn't do anything. Right. So the good news about that sad story is that I have learned a lot of techniques to kind of, first off, understanding. So I know that that's what happens when I am supposed to fit into a quote unquote 9-to-5 world, or just a world that demands that kind of focus and completion and so on and so forth. I know to give myself a break, but also that I have some ways to, some mechanisms to use. I do take medicine sometimes, which helps a lot. And I'm a pro medicine dude.
What makes it spike? Do you have any idea when it's stronger, when it's lesser? Like diet? Do you think do you have any ideas about what affects it in terms of sleep, food, stress, etc.?
Diet, I haven't played with too much. I mean, I'm pretty sure sugar and caffeine are probably not great for me.
Sure. Yeah.
and yet, caffeine was my self-medication of choice once I've figured out, oh wow, this really helps. I don't. Sugar, I think, is not good for me. I'm sure that I could find diets. They haven't really proven, actually, that diet is a huge part of it. Sleep, however, massive part of it. And if I don't get enough sleep, then days are far more scattered, inattentive, unfocused. The irony is that people with ADHD have a very difficult time cutting off at night, and so the sleep doesn't really come, even though I know that I need it. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
So that's
what about
a struggle.
melatonin?
Yeah, melatonin helps me. It, I think because I am pro medication, I'm also very hyper aware of what I do take and when and how much, because I don't feel like I have an addictive personality, but I know that these are potentially dangerous chemicals, even things like melatonin. You just kind of want to be aware because they do have, people do become addicted to them, and I don't ever want to get there. So I kind of ride different waves and understand. And honestly, going back to what you were saying, Amber, I kind of have to plan certain kinds of projects. That helps me a lot. Is knowing. So, for example, Jump Little Children, I didn't have to take Adderall pretty much the entire month of December, except I did start to discover that a tiny bit of my dose before a show was incredibly helpful to me. But I didn't have to take it all day. So I was taking a whole lot less maybe than I would normally if I had to get, say, some development work done. But a little bit before a show would allow me to focus on playing notes correctly. Because another big part... See, I've said this before, ADHD doesn't, to me, mean attention deficit as much as it is focus deficit, because I'm plenty attentive, right? The problem is that when beautiful people are screaming right in front of me, or I'm laughing about something, or I look over and see Jonathan do something funny, or cello player Ward, that is so easily can derail what I really need to be doing, which is playing the correct chords to a song, right?
There's so many notes.
There's so many notes. So it's that my attention goes from where kind of it should be to, oh my god. So that has been an interesting experiment. Other times I just pick projects, like ironically editing podcasts or videos does not really need a stimulus or my usual medicine, because there's something about editing that puts you in, and I think they're proving this, that it puts you into sort of more of a flow state. It's the creative, it's the getting started and finishing stuff. But editing, if you kind of just let it go, can be a very creative function that doesn't necessitate stuff. You can get kind of hyper focused about editing. And so cluttering, yes, clutter definitely. Like
I have some advice for Emily on that. Emily, you can do what I'm sorry, Amber.
Yeah.
Apologies. You can do what Matt did, and you can marry someone who is extremely organized.
That's true. That's very true.
And I'm not dissing Matt. I'm definitely not the most organized person. I am like Matt in that I can't. It's tough for me to be creative if there's clutter around. But I have a general sense of my space can get to a general sense of like, oh, that's acceptable. But I have black holes of crap that's been stuffed in drawers that I just try not to think about. So Matt and I are more alike probably in that way. And I know we talked
about this a lot, so we should probably change, but I will say that, I mean, to specifically answer your question, one thing that I have found that really, really helps with attention deficit, because it's part impulsivity too, and it's about like wanting new things. Go out to Container Store, and it doesn't have to actually be built for what you're trying to organize. You can, whatever looks fun, it could be super cheap. Just get something new and cheap, and go home and organize. That will inspire you to get the job done. It really works. Like for me, one of the most difficult things for me is packing. It's a nightmare. I don't know why. It's just part of it. And so what Lindsay will do is she'll lay out the cubes, and they're so fun and colorful. And so the
e-bag cubes.
Yes, e-bag cubes. E-bag is a company that makes some of them, and so I have to. The mental challenge is to where do pants fit? Where do shirts fit? How do I make this? And that actually does help.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what an e-bag cube is, it's a zippered pouch that you can just put your socks in, or your underwear, or your shirt, or your pants. And you can kind of see inside, so that when you're traveling, everything's organized really well. So that way, if you are dealing with ADHD, you can say, "Oh, my pants go in that one."
Yeah.
You just zip it up. You're done.
Just
anyway.
McZip it.
McZip it. Okay. Yeah. Well, good work. But I don't know. I've never sought any evaluation of whether I'm AD or ADD or ADHD or any of the above. I've always ended up on the hyper focus into the spectrum, which apparently can be a form of ADHD.
Yeah. I mean,
but I've it's so funny how our two experiences can be so different.
It is, but that's also you're also a reason. You're a good example of people that I ally myself with that help me to get the job done. You and Lindsay, for example. It's interesting that.
Well, can we just come over to each other's houses and organize each other's closets?
Yeah.
I need to organize my closet and my kitchen cabinets and my chest over here, my chest of documents. Come on. Somebody come over and help me do that.
That's actually another really good tip, Biv, is that I am really good at organizing other people's things. Again, because of the newness and the
right. And there's no emotional attachment. You don't have to make decisions that have consequences. Yeah.
Again,
all
not
right.
doctors, not therapists. Don't know shit.
Not qualified.
Not qualified.
Not interesting.
Just saying. I'm not saying. Also, don't. I'm okay with medicine. Not saying that you should take medicine. Just saying. Do you want to roll a 1d10?
I've got a brand new 1d10. I've never rolled it in my life.
I got a brand new
Now
1d10.
my d10 has. It's not like the old days where it has the numbers 1 through 10. It's got 10 through 100.
Yeah, I've got one of those too. You don't have a regular one too?
No, but I'm just going to try it. I'm going to call that's a 60, so we're going to call that a 6.
Let's call it a 6. All right.
This one was actually stricken from the record.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry, we'll edit.
Edit.
Okay, so I'm going to roll my d10. Here's my
Yes.
d10, everybody. It's really lovely. Got it on Amazon. Number 5 comes from our good friend. Does this friend allow us to tell them the world their identity? Do they care?
I believe so.
Okay. From our good friend Carrie Kennedy. Man, she's funny. If you know Carrie Kennedy, you already know that. But if you don't, go be her friend if she lets you. She seems pretty discerning. She may not like you. And if she doesn't, I would back the F up. Anyway, she says, got any advice about adding creative time and or space into a ridiculously jam-packed week? Smiley face. I have hobbies that are time-consuming, painting, drawing, etc., but there is literally never enough time to sit down and do the things that I want to do. Difficulty level. Anxiety ramps up if I don't get, quote, all of the things done that I, quote, should get done. But then again, if I could get it together and take time for hobbies, that would help with the anxiety. You don't have to reveal any deep personal truths or anything, but I kind of figure you guys could relate, considering how much you guys always seem to have a lot going on at once. Yep. So I believe Carrie and her sweet husband have kids, right?
Yes.
So Matt and I may not be able to completely relate to the level of jam-packedness that is your life, Carrie, because yours is extra upon extra. But for sure, it's I don't, and therefore I don't, as we've already stated, our advice is worthless. So it might be extra worthless to you now, because since we don't have kids and we have no tips on how to deal with that. The one thing that has worked for me has been to, number one, turn it into bite-sized chunks. And I've got this advice from somebody who does have kids. I was taking a comics writing class online a while back, and the fella Andy, who teaches it, he's got kids, and he said that he schedules his week. Actually, this is probably very good advice from Andy. He schedules his week. And it's very regimented. Like the whole thing, he knows exactly what he's going to do all week long. He just puts it on the calendar down to the kind of the minute, and he tries to adhere to that as hardcore as he possibly can. And that way he knows, like, okay, this is time for me to write my comic. And the way that he got to this was that, he knew, he found out pretty quickly, like, if he worked his day doing whatever he does, and he's got a pretty demanding job. He owns his own business that's involved in writing comics and editing comics. But once he got to the end of this day, all of a sudden it's dinner time, it's kids, it's wife, it's family, and any idea that he had to just sit down and write after work was over, it never worked, not ever. And I can 100% relate to that. For me, if I'm working all day designing webs, brands, whatever it is, and I want to sit down and draw or do something for fun for myself, my brain is pretty blown out, and I'm kind of sick of being creative anyway. And that's might be somewhat different than other people's, because my day job is a creative job. But I feel like brain power is brain power and energy is energy. most people get to the end of their day, they're like, oh my God, please don't.
Yeah.
So anyway, my friend Andy, that's one way that he does it is he's super regimented about his time. So he knows exactly what he's going to do. And he makes his personal time, it's holy, right? No one can touch it. No one can mess with it unless it's an absolute emergency. Getting up early, I found for me personally is also a key thing because, again, like I said, in the evening after work, my brain is done. But if I have a little bit of time in the morning, and this also circles back to what Andy was saying, he always encouraged the students to do it every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Don't keep it in your mind that you have to like sit down and write or draw or do something for hours on end, because you don't realistically have that amount of time, and you're just going to continue this frustrated feeling. Now, I still struggle with this. I struggle with this all the time, and there's always something that gets in the way. Like right now, I like to get up in the morning and get my coffee and sit down before I eat breakfast and work on either a drawing or design project that I'm having fun with, that's not related to work. And then I find myself, but I've also got to spend some time working on a project that I'm not really getting paid for. So, I don't want to work on that when I should be working on things I am getting paid for. So that creeps in, or, oh crap, I got to do my taxes. There's always something. Yeah. Right? So life is like that. But I think Andy's got the best approach. The more hardcore you can be about, and I'm not great at this, but the more hardcore you can be about mapping it all out, then you at least you can know when that time is, even if it's a 5-minute window, and then nobody interrupts that 5-minute window. It's just known. Like, nope, kids, sorry, you can live for 5 minutes without my input. If I have to tie your hands behind your back and put you in a corner. Yeah.
We assume that you can. Evans, that's exactly what I would say too, and I would just add that it's kind of a hip word right now. I was going to look up who exactly to do, but the phrase that a lot of people use is time blocking. And kind of, if you look up time blocking, even on like YouTube or something, I bet Thomas Frank has a video on time blocking. Apparently Elon Musk is a time blocker, and it's exactly what Evan's saying. It's where you really use the calendar, and if you need that 5 minutes to like Evan said, just draw something, right? So I've started this thing, again, inspired by Evan's wife, to wake up in the morning early. I don't like waking up early. I don't enjoy. I wake up and sometimes I'm angry, but at the very most, well, I mean, I just don't like waking up early. I just really don't. But waking up at 6:30 for me is kind of a chore. But I go across to the office. At the very least, I do 5 minutes of yoga, 5 minutes reading, 5 minutes writing, 5 minutes. What's the other one? Meditating.
Talking about your miracle morning.
Miracle morning.
Yeah.
It's still. I'm still on it.
That's something to investigate. You are.
Yeah.
I fell off. I fell off the wagon.
That's okay. But that's the last thing. Don't beat yourself up. That's the main thing. It's like beating yourself up helps zero for humans.
If anything, it probably just reinforces negative feelings associates negative feelings with the thing that you want to associate positive feelings with.
Yes.
So that's a real pitfall. Whatever you do, don't do that. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up. And I mean, it's easier said than done. I do it all the time. Enjoy it. I would also advise you to go towards the things that you're having the most fun with. For instance, for a while I was really chasing down drawing comic pages and trying to, become a better just explore sequential art. And it's such a monumentally difficult skill. I mean, there's so much to it. I can't explain it all. That the more I sat down, just the learning curve was so steep. And I'm starting with a head start more than most people because I'm a designer. I went to art school. I've got some fundamental knowledge already, but it's still like the learning curve is so intense that it became not a whole lot of fun. And I know that you can push through that until it becomes more fun, we hope. But sometimes that's not, like, you have to stop and go, wait a minute. If I'm sitting here to do something that I'm intending to enjoy doing, and I'm not really enjoying it that much, maybe I need to rethink, should I be doing it? That's okay. Totally okay to not force yourself to do something that you're not really liking. So I kind of shifted my mind. It's like, oh, well, just kind of organically, this other thing popped up that was fun. So I started doing that for myself. It wasn't necessarily drawing, but still, was scratching a similar itch. Anyway, enjoy it.
You got this.
Don't beat yourself up.
Don't beat yourself up.
Block your time. Take its bite-sized chunks. And please, when you do paint something or you draw something or you do whatever, please go to our face page and show us what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That'd be great. I would love that all the days. All right, let's keep going.
Roll the dice.
Roll the dice. Okay. This is from our friend Stephanie Reinhardt Potet, and she asks, what is REM's best album? But then she only gives us two options. REM's best album, Document versus Life's Rich Pageant. Discuss. So she knows that we're enormo REM fans. We are from Winston-Salem, where Murmur was recorded. Michael Stipe personally was an enormous inspiration for my stage presence, my style, my everything. REM is pretty much one of my top three. So that's a good question. Evan, would you like to go first, or what?
Sure. Okay, so REM's best album, Document versus Life's Rich Pageant. REM had a lot of great records, and I have very strong feelings about which ones of those are good records and which ones aren't good records. Yes. Those are both definitely in their top three. Both of those records, I'd say, if they're not number one and two. I mean, she's definitely not wrong. Those are some of the strongest.
Yeah.
I nostalgically, Life's Rich Pageant has probably always been my favorite REM record. It's always been the number one. That was a very special time in my upbringing. Coming up as a kid, falling in love with music, being at art school. It just has very strong, powerful memories, and it's front to back just flawless, really. Document is a little bit darker, but I mean, it's edgier or itchier.
Itchier. Just, I don't know.
Itchy?
Like,
makes you feel itchy?
A little, yeah, darker and a little more sinister and a little more, you could tell Stipe and them were kind of
more
worried
political
about the world. Political.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely where they got very, I'm actually just dialing up REM just to see what all the songs, because it's fairly flawless too. I mean, I can't think of, it wasn't until Out of Time really where I got to the point where I was skipping songs on records, right? And then definitely after Out of Time, I paid less and less and less and less attention. So Document, Finest Work Song, Welcome to the Occupation, Exhuming McCarthy, Disturbance at the Heron House, Strange, It's the End of the World as We Know It, The One I Love, Fireplace, Lightning Hopkins, King of Birds, Oddfellows. I don't know why. I don't know why Life's Rich Pageant for me edges it out just a little bit, but I'd say just because of like I said, that nostalgic thing. Begin the Begin. These were two of their most anthemic records in my mind, which is so weird because at that point, it was still college. They were a college rock band, not an indie rock band. They were big on college radio. They did not have big hits. Their following was still growing, but it wasn't really until Green came out, right, that Stand was a much bigger hit. I mean, but they didn't have a number one hit until Out of Time. But they were still they were already playing arenas before Out of Time, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, because Tour Film, which is that was done. That was a world tour at arenas and stuff, and that came out for Green. Lester's Pageant, Begin to Begin, These Days, Fall on Me, Cuyahoga, Hyena, Underneath the Bunker, Flowers of Guatemala, I Believe, What If We Give It Away, Just a Touch, Swan Swan H, and Superman. Come on, just go home and listen to that record.
I know it's so Swan Swan H, definitely one of my favorite songs ever, right? And Superman, of course, same thing. I mean, these are songs that are just they were earworms when I was younger, and now all it takes is just like even the just saying the names of those songs, and they're going to be in my head for the rest of the day, maybe even the rest of the week. I went through, and then the flip side of that is that my entire freshman year of college, I sat in a rocking chair and played "It's the End of the World as You Know It" over and over and over and over and over. It was just, I mean, I kind of felt like it was the end of the world because freshman year of college was hard, but it just was exactly what I needed. I mean, I honestly, this is a cop-out answer, but I could put them together as one glorious album, and
I don't think they're going to let you do that.
I know.
They won't let you do that.
Okay, then I guess I'm going with Document is mine.
Really
interesting. So
cool. It's so good. Both of them just get me charged up.
Oh yeah.
They give me all the feelings.
Yeah.
I just had a revelation somewhat that why you and I particularly might love REM the way that we do. Other than that, they are inspiring performers and we like the music and all that. But we've talked about in the past how they are a Southern band. And you don't think of REM as a Southern band in the context of the way that you think of like the Doobie Brothers or Allman Brothers or whichever of those brothers are Southern. I don't know. Leonard Skinner or Southern rock.
Yeah.
It's not Southern rock, right? But they were. Even in my teenage mind, where I didn't probably understand this at the time, but I think I identified with them as people who were like me, who identified as being Southern, but in not any typical way, shape, or form. I don't sound Southern. I don't act Southern.
You're
whatever,
liberal.
I'm liberal. I mean, that's not necessarily fair to say. There's a lot of liberal people here in the South, but typically the way that where the Southerners are known certainly is probably to be more conservative. But certainly the people that Matt and I grew up with in school, we were the freaks and geeks. And in REM, we're definitely freaks and geeks. But there was something, especially on Fables of the Reconstruction, I'd say their most bluegrassy, southerny sounding record. But Stipe never, he was never afraid of sounding twangy at times. Not that again also made it. That wasn't the thing that made them Southern. They just had a vibe. It was just the South that I understood growing up, right?
And who else? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just kind of, who else has that vibe that I think they loved is Flannery O'Connor.
The author?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Southern Gothic. The concept of a Southern world that is full of intelligence and forward thinking and championing the South and championing the sounds of it and the feeling of it and the slowness of it and the heat of it.
The weirdness of it.
But especially the weirdness of it. And I think that just really, that was just like, stuff that we needed to, because I kind of feel, of course I don't know because I didn't grow up there, but I kind of feel like the people that I know that grew up in, say, New York City had all of that. They had access to anything they wanted, the good, the bad, the weird, the wonderful, the all of it, because it's a big old city, right? But then in Winston-Salem, a small, always been kind of sleepy town, that it's different. It was just different. We didn't have those things, and to see people not only play music that we loved and be that we wanted, but dress the way they wanted, and yet love all of that Southern stuff, which is the big thing for me. It's like I am the first person to just outright defend the South. I know there's plenty of things that are not cool about it. There's plenty of things that aren't cool about anywhere. But I'm always ready to champion it. And I think it's because I like REM, the members of REM, and just I know that there's so much magic in it. It's a very magical sound.
Yeah. Yeah. They had they had the thing. They had that thing.
Yeah. They had the thing. I
miss their thing. I don't want them to come back because I don't want to find out that they don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
So don't stay away, you guys. Stay away. Although, Matt and I, we did talk about Stipe's solo single a while back, and we enjoyed it actually. But yeah, stay away, you guys. Stay away.
Yeah.
Next. Wait, it's my turn. It's my turn.
Sorry. Go.
Oh, what is this? Is that a 7?
Okay.
No. Some of these. We'll have to edit this out too, brother.
Yeah.
6 and 7 didn't get cut. Okay. Oh my God! I've got ants swarming on my keyboard and everything. What the hell's happening?
Ants marching.
9. Okay, here we go. Okay, so number 9, I rolled a 9.
Yes.
Roll for initiative. So this comes from our friend Jenna Cohen, our good friend Jenna Cohen, who lives in Washington, D.C., right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so she says, here, let me blow this up. These are terrible distractions. These are terrible distractions, but they're fun thought experiments and get to know you games. Maybe? ? Number 1, what sci-fi/fantasy story does this most remind you of? And I think that this she's referring to is our current embroilment with our current viral experience. Number 2, if all of a sudden you had to stay in your home until, let's say, the end of the month, what food item would you need to buy more of / did you make sure to stock up on? Relatedly, I don't think I have enough beer. No doubt. No doubt.
That's a good one.
Okay, so let's take this one by one. So number 1, what sci-fi or fantasy story does this most remind you of? Interesting. Well, I mean, I think the two most obvious they're not really even sci-fi or fantasy. I suppose they were sci-fi at the time, and now it's just reality.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Outbreak, the 1995 movie, who I think his 30th anniversary was just a few days ago. Yeah, and then of course Contagion, which came out a few years ago. I don't remember caring about either of those movies that much. I think I've always been very, very deeply disturbed by pandemic stories. I don't like them. I don't seek them out. I don't want to watch that because I've just always known that this scenario that we're in right now, and then later on, there's going to be something worse than this, right? Like this is bad, but there's always something worse that's going to be coming our way, and so, as much as I like horror movies, that's not something. It's just it makes me feel too bad, a little too close to home, but. Gosh, sci-fi. I'm struggling to even think of just a straight up sci-fi or fantasy story that this reminds me of. Do you have one?
No, I mean I was going to say stand the.
There
book.
You go. Yeah,
the book.
Well, sure.
Stand.
That's a great one.
So that was kind of one that I was thinking of. Also,
Stephen King has actually been very vocal about. Did you see this tweet or response to a tweet? Someone was tweeting. That to Stephen King or at him that that this felt like The Stand, and he was like, "Look, this is nothing like The Stand. You're stop panicking. You're fine.
You're okay.
Chill, bro." And then some idiot, I think, even got it on the thread and was like, "Did you read The Stand?"
Oh no. What if they weren't able to read? How rude. Yeah, so The Stand, and then I guess he could go any of the
Resident Evils. Yeah.
Resident Evils and Walking Deads and
32 days later, 35. What is it? 31 days later.
I mean, that's a beautiful one.
Yeah, but I mean, none of that stuff
but horrible.
I would say maybe there's a better analogy of a movie that's about panicking more than just disease, right? Because the reality is, this is certainly nothing to be trifled with, but it's also not the bubonic plague.
I've got one. Children of Men.
Donnie Darko. Oh.
Children of Men.
Children of Men. Was that about? That's been so long since I've seen that. That's about disease.
It is about women being suddenly unable to have children, and so the population starts going. And so, in some ways, well, I guess it's still not. I guess it's sci-fi, and it's also very. I guess it could be a real thing, but that makes any babies born like gold, and people are crazy. I mean, why the last man? Why the last man?
Yeah, well, definitely. That's certainly my favorite sci-fi or fantasy story about
why the last man?
Pandemic apocalypse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For those of you out there who don't know what Why the Last Man is or have never read it, they've been trying to turn it into a movie or a TV series ever since it was written, which was decades ago now, and it's still happening. Although the lead, the guy who played Yorick, quit, and they have had to find a new Yorick. Yes, the lead character's name, if you don't know the story, his name is Yorick, just like the character from Hamlet. But essentially, the story is about overnight, just in a matter of minutes, really, every male of every species on Earth dies horribly, and except for one guy, 120-something-year-old numbnut, and his pet monkey, ampersand. Hilarity ensues. And no, he does not have sex with all the now single women of the world, because he's searching for the love of his life, who's halfway around the planet in Australia. So it's a great, beautiful, funny, sexy, kick-ass, amazing, epic adventure. If you haven't read it, do yourself a favor.
Do it.
Anyway,
so what food item?
So if all of a sudden you had to stay in your home until the end of the month, what food item would you need to buy more of? We've actually actively talked about making sure that we just have some, core staple, like just like rice and beans stuff. We're a 2 instant pot home here, and which if you don't have an instant pot, you're missing out. You're not living life. Get on Amazon, get yourself. No.
Yeah, treat yourself.
And so I can get rice and beans or whatever going simultaneously. The other night I did we made Indian food, so I did palak paneer and a chana masala at the same time. And an Instant Pot that's done in an instant. It's done in like you cook it in 6 minutes. Anyway, so yeah, just like staple stuff, rice and beans and crap like that, which I think we're actually going to do because who the hell knows. Apparently we didn't get enough toilet paper, but that's not our fault. No beer.
Yeah, we're getting those things: beans, rice, some pasta. The thing that I would start missing a lot is apples. I'm really into apples. I know it's tough.
I know, me too. Pears, like apples, like fruit in general. I don't. We'll see what it's like. I don't physically go to the store anymore, because my car broke down long time ago, and I haven't been able to fix it. So I've been doing this Instacart thing, which I don't know if you've ever tried Instacart. You guys live so close to two stores that
You
it's
walk to
probably
stores.
it's not really not really a thing for you. But for me, the stores aren't that close. There's a new one. There's a Publix that opened up nearby, but there's a chain here called Sprouts, which is basically like Whole Foods but cheaper, which is nice. So I enjoy it about a million times more to have my groceries delivered, and I have a little cart. I just go down. I live in a apartment complex, and when they get to the gate, I just go down there and they plop them in there. Oh my God! Not going to the store, best thing ever. Best thing ever, because I don't like people. I don't like being around people. I don't like you're trying to get the avocado that I want. I'll cut you. And now you're trying to put your coronavirus on my avocado? Get out of here. I don't know. Anyway, the point was I do need to make an order soon, and I'm curious to see what all's going to be sold out of what. Right?
Yes. Jenna, Lindsay did buy. She did go to Trader Joe's, and it's wine. Her answer is wine. So similarly to your beer, she's ready. She's ready for the. Should we do one more, Biv?
Let's do one more. Yeah, I think this is your role.
Okay. We love you guys. These are great. This is a fun time. Let's see.
Wait, are we going to do the Duran Duran one or what?
Yeah, let's do the Duran Duran one. Let's end on that one. I had actually rolled one by the same contestant, the same person who wrote in, so this will be good. So this is from our friend Megan, and she asks, Duran Duran is neither a Duran nor a Duran. Discuss.
Okay. Do you know what a Duran is?
I have to admit, I have no idea what a Duran is.
I don't think
Can we find out live?
Well, I'm looking. So the first thing that pops up on old Google is the Duran name meaning, Spanish Duran, in Catalan. It's just a proper name. Here's the Urban Dictionary though. A Duran is an innocent angel, blessed in many ways.
What?
Yeah, what? Now there's some kind of weird tooltip thing that I can't get rid of. Get out of here. Some people wallow in their self-pity and worthlessness, but the guy rises above all the inbred BS. What? What? Have I gone insane? I'm literally reading to you the entry from Urban Dictionary. Let me start over. Duran.
I don't want you to.
Duran is an innocent angel, blessed in many ways, period. Some people just wallow in their self-pity and worthlessness, but the guy rises above all the inbred BS. He's pure and intelligent with a clean heart. He makes people think to themselves how lame they are when they have to write stupid-ish about him online because their hate of themselves has made them sell out.
What?
This is real. This is really here. I'm gonna send you the link right now so you can treat your eyes to this.
I'll put that in the show notes. Well, that's about as crazy insane as I've ever heard.
And yet, it kind of describes Duran Duran. Because they may not be innocent angels, but they look like angels.
That's true.
And they were definitely blessed in many ways, right?
And ish.
I'm sure at some point in their lives they've like we all have, they've wallowed in self-pity and maybe, self-consciousness turned to worthlessness, but they rose above all the inbreds that were around them. Were they pure and intelligent with a clean heart? I don't know. Have you seen the unedited video for Girls on Film?
No.
It's not clean. It's pretty sad. It's like definitely hard R, very rated R.
Okay. Well,
do they make people do they make people think to themselves how lame they are when they have to write stupid-ish about them online because their hate of themselves has made them sell out? Those words don't make sense to me strung together, so I can't necessarily speak to whether or not that describes Duran Duran or not. So we'll just leave that. Anyways.
The only thing that I came up with is that the band took their name from Roger Vadim's 1960s cult sci-fi classic film Barbarella, starring Jane Fonda. And there was a character named by Milo. There was a character played by Milo O'Shea called Durand with D's. So, wow. I mean, even there, Megan, Duran Duran is neither a Durand or a Durand or a Durand. So on every level, I mean, I think we have actually done what you asked, which is discuss this. We've discussed a topic that made no sense, but yeah, that's what I'd say. No, neither Duran. Yeah, the answer is
Duran. Just wash your hands.
Just wash your hands. That's all we got. Just wash your hands or round around.
Round around, go round around, and wash your hands just like a clown. I'm down to clown. I'm down to pound, and I really want to rock it when I rock the sound.
Love it. That was a successful Ask-a-Biv, I would say.
I hope so. Well, for us, I don't know if it was for anybody out there, but I've enjoyed it, brother. You know, I always enjoy just spending time with you. I love you.
Same. I love you too.
Everybody out there,
yeah.
Stay calm. I know you hear it all the time, but just things are going to be okay. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be all right. And be smart. Don't panic.
Yeah, please.
We're going to be okay.
Write us if you're feeling scared. Just send us a note and write us and we'll talk you through it, and we'll, even though we're not qualified, again, not qualified.
We will not make you think to yourself how lame you are when you have to write stupidish about him online. We won't do that.
Amen.
We are neither a Duran nor a Duran nor a Duran.
Exactly. And exactly. Yes. Until then. Until next week, brother.
Until next week,
brother.
Namaste.
Duran.